Do this. Jam and toast.
All right, we're live. Everybody can hear you.
All right.
Stop talking about whatever contents in this past few volumes. Might have set some other people off. This. Remember when you gave that warning about fan service, Jin?
Yep.
This is the group of chapters that I would have been more worried about.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying in general. I was saying like literally across the board from that moment on, it was going to get progressively more and more fan servicey. I wasn't saying like that was going to be the worst chapter. It's just like across the board, it's going to get more and more fan servicey, which I personally don't have a problem with, but I know some people that takes away from their story. So I wanted to warn people ahead of time.
Yeah, that fan service, bro. They got a lot of it.
That man didn't hold back at all.
He said, "I am leaving nothing to the imagination." No, I'm just kidding. He does leave something to the imagination.
Sometimes he doesn't,
Very
though.
little.
Sometimes he doesn't.
Oh,
Yeah.
There were a few panels with
Listen.
Rachel, man, I swear.
Oh,
shit. I mean, Shigure and
Anyway.
Kenichi together. I mean,
yeah.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Manga Panel. We've done it. We've reached chapter 380. If you're reading along with us, if you just want to listen for the ride, well, here we are.
Welcome.
I got the usual co-host today. Justice.
What up?
Yeesh.
Sekitai.
Yo, what's up?
And Jin, aka Still Not My Daddy.
the more you deny it, the more people are going to believe it. They're going to believe that I am, so you better just let it go now.
Oh man, how do you guys want to start? I feel like this group of chapters was a lot of things, but also not a lot of things that happened. If that makes
So-
sense.
Go ahead, Jin. You go ahead.
So I think, and this is just my opinion, of course. Although I agree that a lot happened and nothing happened, I believe that a lot of nuance was laid, like a lot of ground for nuance was starting to be laid for him. You started to learn more about the different levels of mastery. You start learning about the path to mastery. You start to really see how different the fights have become, not just for Kenichi, but for the masters as well. Like, also you get to see, people outside of Ryo Zanpaku who are master level, who are villains, and it just there's a lot of like groundwork laid to show like, hey, now that you understand Kenichi's story, now that you understand the martial arts and the life or death aspect, let me start laying the foundation for, hey, there's a bigger world than we even discussed before.
Yeah, and it feels super like organic because Kenichi's also becoming like he's like almost at the top of like the disciple class. I use in air quotes.
Mm-hmm.
So like it makes sense that he would be learning about all these things because that's where he is in his training.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, a lot of this definitely feels like things just kind of start happening because it's plot time. Which isn't necessarily a negative critique. It just feels more abrupt. Right?
Well, to be fair, this is the opposite of what you guys were, noting before, where it's like, oh man, it's a really slow burn, and then it's like there's a lot of just talking and training. Now it's like far less talking and training and far more, okay, we're in life or death situations. We're in actual serious fight. We are having not just fist fights, but philosophical fights. I mean, how many times in these group of chapters has he faced off against somebody who is on the opposite, quote unquote, killing fist, but aren't necessarily evil people? And I do make that distinction because some of these characters do seem to be characters of circumstance or characters that believe in their masters more than they believe in the philosophy, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would also like to say, I mean, this is we see a lot of this for the masters too, like a lot of philosophy clashing. Like honestly, Akisame, like I can't. Elder's still my favorite master, but Akisame might be my second.
Huh. Alright. I can't say I expected it, but I can't say it's a bad decision, Because all the masters are pretty great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But like,
and I do want to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say because I don't know. Like, are we going ahead and talking about like? Are we just still generally talking about it, or can I like we start talking about like specific stuff that happens?
Before you do that, I do want to address something because I mentioned it before. So for the last two shares that we've done up until this point, I've mentioned how his masters have been pretty rough on him, and I wanted to bring up the fact that this group of chapters really sets the turning point of them becoming much more. I don't want to say nice or lenient, but just it seems like they're giving him more props, I guess. They didn't change their ways completely, so it does feel organic. It's not like they went from being like, "Did you ever no kind of fuck you" to, "Oh man, you're the best fighter we've ever had." They didn't do anything like heel turn like that, but they do definitely give more moments of, "Hey, I see you. Hey, you're making those strides that we expected to do this whole time." You know what I'm saying? And although saying, "Oh, you're making the like just meeting expectations isn't the best compliment ever," seeing what they were basically saying beforehand, that's a big ass compliment, And those are the ones they're saying to his face. So that's not even the ones that they're not saying directly to him, because there are compliments they're giving to him behind his back that he doesn't even know about. So, well, he knows about them. They don't know he knows. So I do want to admit they have gotten better about showing openly how much they like his improvement, if that makes sense. So I do want to bring that to the table.
Yeah, because you gave him a lot of crap, bruh. You gave him a lot
I did.
of crap.
I did. I'm not gonna lie, but I was going based off the chapters we had already read. So based off the chapters that we had already read, that's how I felt. But now I can honestly say, with what we have now, there has been a definitive change.
All right.
So I feel like a good summation of these chapters is that the masters start getting more involved in like world affairs in Kenichi's eyes, and Kenichi starts doing more underground things, and he's fought a lot more of Yomi by the end of this.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how much of Yomi is left.
I think there's only one dude he doesn't know. Technically.
Well, no,
That he doesn't know, yeah. 3 that he needs to fight, I believe, technically.
I think there are 5 members left that he hasn't fought.
And are we counting the girl?
I was counting the girl when I said.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know because I haven't read past this, so it's like I don't know if the little girl's gonna get fought.
But you know Kenichi's not gonna fight her.
I'm thinking a concept. Because in Yomi left, you do have the little girl, Chikage, I think her name is. You have the Muay Thai guy. If you want to add him, because he just recently became a member of Yomi, you have Hermit, and then you have the lead guy, the new leader of the Yomi. So those are the 4 I can think of off the top of my head. If there's one I'm missing, my bad. But I'm pretty sure those are the 4 I can think of.
Yeah. I mean, Ryut is also there, but, like, he's just there.
I don't know if they even have any intention of fighting again. He's not done anything to indicate that he's interested in fighting. His master hasn't put him in a position to fight. I mean, there are other people who were mentioned, but those people have gotten next to no screen time up until this point. We don't know how actually a part of Yomi or Yami they are. We just know that they've been brought up as people that are potential disciples. So we don't even know for sure if he's going to fight those people yet, as far as the chapters are written.
Are you talking about the silhouettes? One of whom is super obvious.
Yes, I'm talking about the silhouettes. Yes, I'm talking about that stuff. It's just they have not officially been stated to be a part of the team yet. They just stated that he's going to be training them up and using them as test subjects. So that's why I said it that way. I said it the way I meant to say it.
And another thing that becomes important is that there's this big split in Yomi between, like, open hand martial artist and weapon martial artist that I feel like is really, like, I personally feel like is super strange that they're even in the same organization. But, you know, here we are.
I don't think it's that strange. And the reason I say I don't think it's that strange is because realistically, no different from Ryo Zanpaku, everybody of that martial arts side has an ideology to follow it. Now, of course, the hand-to-hand combat users believe hand-to-hand is the superior one, and the weapon users probably believe the weapon users ones are the more superior one. But the ideology at the end of the day is the same. And if they can work together to take out Ryo Zanpaku and all other fist-saving or life-saving fist members working together, more profitable, preferable, profitable to get done. So it makes more sense, because even outside of the weapons users, the way that the normal hand-to-hand combat users explain it, it's like, we're just a group of circumstance. We're not here because we like each other. We're not here because we think each other are as equal. We are here because we have a circumstance we're trying to meet.
Okay, so the difference here that I'm trying to make when I say that is that, like, there is infighting between them already.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems weird to me that, like, why even bother being associated with each other? This whole like armed unarmed version of Yami thing, it's just weird. It's not inconceivable. I just don't. It does not sit right with me, is what I'm getting at. But that's like another major. I feel like that is like two of the most overarching things that are going on, because most of it is just like Kenichi taking on these Yomi members with some comedy in between, and boy, is there some comedy.
Oh.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I do want to say, even with that, I gave the creator a lot of crap for basically not giving Kenichi his due with how far he's come and just going back to the same old tired, oh man, I'm scared of everything tropes. He's gotten better with that too. He does kind of lean into those sometimes, but it just seems more organic now instead of it just being like, I'm Kenichi, I'm scared of everything. Instead, now he's like, no, I want to do this. But also, like, there's a piece of me that's still afraid. Like, which is much more, you know what I mean? I just feel like that's much better in comparison to how he was in the D&D of the year or whatever, where they were basically like, oh man, everybody else on, the Shinpaku, including the guy who's one of the weakest members, is like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to handle business. And then Kenichi's over here like, shit, I'm about to piss myself. I don't know what the fuck y'all got going on. Like, I just feel like this is much better portrayal of how far he's come in comparison than to that. So I did mention that before, so I do want to reiterate. I do think he's gotten better with that too.
I would also like to point out that I do believe that, like, I want to point out something, basically, like, about Kenichi and how far he's come. So, Kenichi literally used to accidentally basically win fights. Like, when this whole thing started, Kenichi was, like, stumbling into victory, basically. Like, more or less. He'd be like, oh, this thing from training, and boom, and then he'd do it, and then he'd, oh, the results of training, this is great. Whereas Kenichi is a very, very competent fighter now. Like, reading this, especially this set of chapters, like, and seeing Kenichi, like, he's become way more manly. Just he faces everything head on, and like when he is in a fight, it's like, I don't know. I guess I feel a lot more hype than I used to, because it was more comical before to me than it is now.
Well, I feel like my feelings on that changed like the last reading that we had, when he was like at least by the time he had faced Odin, I feel like that had kind of gone away for me. But I get you.
Well, I mean, I could kind of agree with Zach here, because there was the point in the D&D tournament where he was fighting the Chinese Kung Fu master, or not masters, but disciples, and there was a point where he was sitting here like, okay, I can't move my arms, I'm not even sure what I'm going to be able to do here, and then he has that flashback where he's like, I can teach you a technique that you can do without your arms. And it was kind of like, oh, wow, this was the exact thing I needed. Luckily, I had the training on that more than it was like when he fought Horus in this chapter. He, like, just knew what to do. Yeah. Like, he just knew what to, like, there was no, like, moment of, like, I gotta just remember my training, I gotta go back to what did I, no, it was just immediately, as soon as he was getting thrown here, he would react. When he got jumped in the air here, he would react. Like, everything was, like, much more, like, he's coming closer to what he's like when he's unconscious. When we seen him unconscious and his body was just reacting, knowing exactly what to do without hesitation, and it showed just how much stronger he should be, he's getting closer to that while he's conscious. And I want to say I agree with that one.
I mean, I'd argue that was more for us than him, because those just seem like technique explanations so that we, the reader, know what the heck he's doing.
But I mean, this also shows him his personality, though. You literally, like, Kenichi's determination, even what Boris says to Kenichi. Like, Boris is literally like, you've never been in this position. You have always been the one, the underdog. You've always been the underdog. So, like, you've always felt desperate, basically, in a battle. But, Kenichi was like, I don't understand. It's like I can't get my techniques off quite well. And, Boris is, like, basically risking his life, throwing it at him in order to get the victory. And it's not that Kenichi wasn't quote-unquote superior, but he had never been in a situation where he was, basically, like, he had the edge on his opponent. And, like, the whole time, from the giddy-up. And Boris came at him with that level of respect.
And, I mean, even more, like, he almost was afraid of Kenichi. Like, I don't know being afraid as in, like, he wasn't willing to fight, but he didn't know if he could win. And that's a very big difference in comparison to all his other fights, really, up until that. Not all of them, but a lot of them, where he would fight somebody and they were like pretty damn sure they're going to beat his ass. That was like one of the first few fights where he was like, okay, I got to go into this serious. I got to go into this facing Kenichi like he's better than me, because there's a chance that he is better than me, even with all the training I've done up until this point to get better since our last fight.
So, while we're talking about Kenichi's fights, what was your favorite of his fights in this span of chapters?
Jesus. Okay, this
Him
is
versus the Master. Him versus the Blade Master. That's the number one fight in my opinion. And it's not even like a contest, because all the other fights are great. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they aren't awesome. But literally having Kenichi stand his ground more than once against the enemy, not only using a weapon, which he has pure fear of. Like, that is like, other martial arts he's like afraid on like a I could get beat up level, but like all up until this point, weaponry has been his like kryptonite, where it's like, I don't even want to even try to fight this person because they have a weapon. And that's been shown since the beginning when the dude had a little ass knife in it. So seeing him go up against them,
nothing but.
So seeing him go against not only a weapon user who knows what they're doing, but going up against a weapon user who's a master class, no questions asked. This isn't like some scrub master. This isn't someone who might be master. Like, this is like definitively a master class character. And he's like, okay, well, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna handle this business. Nobody's gonna die on my watch. Like, seeing him like make that firm decision, make that like, I'm gonna put my life on the line right now, for real, where I know this is basically suicide, but I'm not gonna lose. That was like his best moment, and probably one of his best moments in the series, just because it's like him almost fighting Shigure, not literally, because I think Shigure would have beat this guy, but it's conceptually similar, as if Shigure and him fought, and he knew he was going to get killed by Shigure. It's like he went in there knowing what the consequences were going to be, and he did not back down at all.
Okay. I can dig that, honestly. I wouldn't say that's my favorite one, but I could definitely see why you would feel that way. It is a good fight.
It's definitely respectable.
Also, he traced down a goddamn truck on foot.
Yeah.
He's getting close to that superhuman level of shit, because he literally, and it wasn't like the truck was going like 10 or 20 miles an hour. That shit was speeding, and he said, fuck it, I'm chasing it down and jumping on a truck. Like,
yeah,
he's getting up there, man.
Yeah. I'll make a comment after I say, I guess, which one was my favorite fight.
Yeah.
My favorite, I think, actually would have to be, like, this is a close tie between the fight with Boris and the fight with Rachel's brother, whose name always...
Ethan.
Thank you, Ethan. It's because it's so normal.
You mean American? Freaking
Yeah.
weeb.
I guess
So,
but
so not foreign to you.
it's so not foreign to me. I can't remember. But I actually think that I'd have to say the fight with Ethan. Wait, what?
No, I said I'm in the same room with Justice today.
You're lucky.
Probably will be for the foreseeable future, but I was just telling him he better not pick my favorite fight. Otherwise, I'm gonna throw him in this room.
No.
And we are talking about Kenichi's fights, correct? Not
Yes.
favorite fight.
I was gonna go over that one next, actually.
Okay, so yeah, I definitely think I'm gonna go with Ethan. The fight with Ethan. The fight with Boris was beautiful. Do not get me wrong. This is a very difficult decision for me. But the fight with Ethan, between the circumstances that Kenichi had set up for himself.
It was more like for what Ganryu X set up for him.
We have a whole person that covers everything Ganryu X. But I mean, like, the whole situation with Chikage, and like her having to watch that fight, and basically like what that fight was supposed to be was Kenichi's execution. Like, and you remember how everybody was so sure that Ethan was going to murder Kenichi?
in the first few seconds too. It wasn't even like one of those, oh, he'll overcome him. It was like, all right, Kenichi's gonna fight, and then Ethan's gonna like decapitate this cat. One move.
Yeah. So like they were pretty sure, like 99.9% sure that Ethan, after Kenichi had come this far, they were like, yeah, Ethan's fixing to murder you, bro. Just so that you know, what kind of flowers you want at your grave.
Mm-hmm.
Be there to visit your grave and put your favorite flowers, Kenichi, Chikage specifically, because you know she's all into the water and flowers and stuff now. Go, Kenichi!
She's adorable.
She is, man. It's a soft spot because I'm just like, she's such a martial arts master, but she reminds me of my daughter. I hope my daughter doesn't turn out to be so cold though, because that would be crazy. That would be weird.
Well, that was definitely a nurture thing they explained. They explained like she's been raised by an actor to be that way, and as soon as she had anything else, any other option, she became different. So
child mode activated. I will
literally
cover.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'll definitely cover that in detail, because I have to say I think like Chikage is probably my favorite female character. Like, period. I don't know why, and maybe it is because she does kind of remind, like, she makes me think about my daughter, but that's my favorite, like, female character in the manga so far. Her master is cool, though. I will say that. Like, she's a heartless bitch who I would never want to, like, have any type of friendship with her, but she is cool as fuck to look at, like, and like all the stuff she can do, and her jujitsu and her technique, all of that. But yeah, favorite fight.
Yeah, you saw a lot of that technique in those off-screen fights, huh?
Oh yeah, man.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, I saw the way she grabbed and everything, man.
And I see you saying I wouldn't want to have a friendship with her. That was a very specific set of words you said there. I see you. Like, you haven't passed me, bro. I see you.
Asian. You're the one with the name Papa, not me. All right. Let's keep it moving.
All right, Justice, go ahead and pick my favorite fight.
Oh, my favorite fight was definitely the Ethan fight.
Oh, good. We finally differed on something.
Like that, it was just so
Which
great.
fight?
Ethan?
We can't hear him that well.
Oh, shit. Can you hear me better now?
There we go.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
much better.
Okay. It's definitely the Ethan fight. Like, that was the moment where I was like, man, Kenichi is actually the GOAT.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Me and Justice agreed on this. Oh, it's been so long.
Wild.
I won't lie, I gotta agree that kick was badass though. Like, I agree the whole fight was awesome, but that kick, like the way that whole, because I often argue this manga you have a hard time kind of telling what's happening in certain fights, especially with the masters. But that kick was just illustrated so well. Like, there's no argument on how smooth that kick was. Like, just how nice that final kick to end the fight was.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. All right, Cynic. Let's hear what your favorite fight was for Kenichi.
My favorite fight for Kenichi was actually, I think, the only one he lost in this set of chapters.
Whoa,
was
really?
actually
I mean,
really
that
good,
dude's
too.
cool. That dude is cool as hell. Just for the record, he's cool as shit.
I want to say his name is Tiroid Koken, but I am not the pronunciator of Thai names, so...
I mean, it's cool. You said it well enough that I remember the spelling of his name, so you're good.
So, I like that fight a lot, because it started off with Kenichi, like, messing with his goons, right? And he wrecked them dudes, like, super hard, and he was not ready. And that psychological attack that psychological attack that Yomi member put on him, like saying, "Hey, you haven't fought a normal person in a while. You broke these men. They're all gonna get hospitalized because of you."
Yeah, that was pretty. that was what kept me from having Koken as my new favorite Yomi member, just for the record. Very good mental tactics, but you can't lie, that was fucked up that he literally raised them to be crushed. He was like, what?
I think it's worse than that, though, because it's not even so much just that he raised them to be crushed. He raised them specifically to have an advantage over Kenichi. Because here's the thing. Kenichi ended her career. That's not a problem because he didn't kill any of them. But the problem is that him beating them that way started to make it so that he could instill into Kenichi, like, you're all talk. Because you're all about how, violence, beating people up is all of violence. And now you're just beating these normal people up. They have no defense. And you just master these cats. And then when he went to go punch him, he's like, oops, you almost hit this guy. I know I'm putting him in your way, but you could have killed him with that attack. You sure you're not just doing violence? And this makes Kenichi hold back. And even if they were equal, or this guy was stronger than him, now Kenichi's severely disadvantaged. So it's way worse than just that it was a psychological attack. It was like he just set the whole deck up.
It was an attack on his beliefs.
Yeah, and so like another thing is every time they bring back up the Karate Club, I feel like it's super cool because it always reminds me of how it all started, Like Daimonji was the one who wanted to call somebody to help Kenichi. Like that's some off-screen character growth. Well, I guess it wasn't off-screen per se.
Yeah, I ain't gonna talk about Daimonji because, I get what they were trying to do. I really do. And it is cool, I will say, in retrospect, that Daimonji got his karma. But fuck Daimonji. I don't give a rat's ass about him. He could have gotten beat up worse, and I would have been okay.
I think people are allowed to change, and seeing someone grow is great, but you live your best life, friend.
I mean, hey, man, I didn't say the growth wasn't good. I just said fuck Daimonji.
So it's funny to me, because I actually interpret it a little bit differently than both of you. Because although I do see it as him getting his comeuppance, I also feel like it's another, what's the word I'm looking for? Affirmation of Kenichi's beliefs, because Daimonji was put down to Kenichi's level specifically. Like, he wasn't just beat up Iron guy. He wasn't just, turned into being, some weak person and stuff. He was still the same amount of strength he had always been. But they were using him as the punching bag, if you want to be here to support the strong, the least you could do is be the punching bag. Like, literally everything he had said to Kenichi up to that point. And the fact that you have Daimonji getting that low, and then basically figuring out, holy shit, this is me. I'm getting beat by myself. I'm Kenichi right now. And how many other people have I treated like Kenichi? And Kenichi has got strength, and he's strong. He's not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Could there be a better way? Is it not just survival of the fittest, like I've been taught to believe this whole time? It just seems slowly but surely to affirm Kenichi's viewpoint. Because we've seen this with another character, the one who started learning martial arts because of Kenichi. So we already seen that once from the weak point of view. So now we're getting to see that same thing from a quote-unquote strong character's point of view. I say quote-unquote because in the grand scheme he's weak. But when you first meet this character, he's ridiculously strong compared to Kenichi. So it's just interesting to see that affirmation.
Yeah, I think that's cool as well. So ironic, weird thought that just popped up because we were talking about Daimonji's redemption.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Daimonji's build is kind of like Sakaki. So,
yeah.
And this is a super duper far shoot, just for the record. What if Daimonji basically became the next Sakaki for Riz Zanpaku? Because of this whole situation that, you know what I'm saying, Kenichi's basically going to be future Elder, and Daimonji will be future Sakaki. I'm just saying, it's kind of interesting.
That would be awesome. I don't think they ever bring that up, but it would be awesome.
Also, I feel like I would put, a bunch of members in the Shippaku Alliance before Daimonji in any kind of position in that future.
I mean,
It's an interesting thought.
Wait, what?
I was just
I
gonna
was
say,
going to say you don't have to limit it to the same number of masters that it has now. These are just the people who are part of Reading Renpaku. Like by the time Elder goes out the door and some of his masters go out the door, there's no problem. There's no reason why everybody in the Shinpaku Alliance and more couldn't be a part of Reading Renpaku. Obviously,
true. But then the fight ends with Kenichi dying. I've been wanting to get to that for a while.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, so Kenichi like gets punched in the chest. Like I'm not sure how he was able to like this plot healing that Akisame and Kensei Ma do a lot of the time. It works, but he should have been dead. And dude even thought he killed him as a martial artist, and that's what ended up leading Kenichi to what you said your favorite fight was, dude. Because that was the setup.
Yeah. So, like, it's funny to me because the reason I personally can let that go, them like bringing him back to life, is because not just because this is fiction, but because I know I can suspend my disbelief a little bit, and the fact that as long as the brain is alive, and it takes a little bit of time for your brain to die. It doesn't just immediately shut down, and then your whole organ shut down, you die forever. Technically, you have a certain amount of time to be resuscitated, and because they're both literally doctors, one being, bone setting and all this other stuff, and the other one being acupuncture and different types of quote-unquote medicine. Obviously, I use quote-unquote because they're whatever medicine they want to say they are. There's no real scientific, basis behind it. But the fact of the matter is knowing that there is a certain amount of time that you can live for, even when you're quote-unquote dead, to be brought back to life as long as your brain does not completely shut off and decompose, like, you're good. So, knowing this fantasy, I can let it slide.
All right, I would like to go on a 2-minute intermission while we think about our favorite not Kenichi fight.
Okay. 2 minutes.
I do want to. I do have one question before we do that.
Listen,
Does this mean anybody's fight, or do we mean max?
anyone that isn't Kenichi,
Okay.
as long as he isn't involved.
Oh boy, that's a lot to think about.
Exactly. Hence the break. So, for all of our viewers, I'm going to put on some nice music for you. Hope you enjoy. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. And we're back.
All right.
So, what do you got? What do you got? Justice, you want to start? You said you were really ready for yours already.
All right, yeah, I can start. So my favorite fight was probably the Ryo Zanpaku versus the Weapons Yami members, but especially like Sakaki, Shigure, and that flat faced dude whose name I don't remember, the Tim Burton looking guy, versus like that
Oh,
knight.
Flat-faced good.
There was a medieval knight.
So you mean Edward Scissorhands? I got
Yeah, versus those three, and then also the jujitsu lady.
Dude, when she showed up, shit got so real.
Yeah.
Like
She's
she just started.
final boss waves, doesn't she? So I was saying, I was just saying, she gives off final boss waves.
Yeah, she does.
She sure does.
I mean, definitely. She was facing two Ryo Zanpaku members single-handedly. Not that she defeated them, but she definitely had them on the ropes. Like, they were trying against her.
Also, something I wanted to note for not just us but also our listeners. Grand Elder is at least 88 years old when this series is happening, or 84. I mean, like bare
I've seen
minimum.
90 plus some places.
I
Not gonna lie.
I don't think they actually specified a year at any time, but he at least remembers hearing about. He remembers hearing about the events of what is the phrase that they used?
Was it the
Eternal Sunset?
Yeah, the Eternal Sunset before World War II, and we know that this is all happening in 2002.
Yep.
So doing that math, and assuming that he would have to be old enough to remember actually hearing it, at the bare minimum, he is like 82. Not 82. 84. That's assuming that this is like a kid Hayato Furinji hearing about this, mind you. Like, I'm talking
honestly, I
toddler.
doubt it because he didn't have a master. He trained himself. So knowing that he trained himself, he would have had to already have known martial arts at the time. He may not have been a master, but he would have already had to know martial arts.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying bare minimum, that's how old this man is. Absolute bare.
Yep. And it's worse because at least he looks older. Now, granted, he doesn't look 90, but he at least looks around, 50, 60 years old. A rich 56-year-old, but at least, he looks older. He looks like someone's grandfather. But, she don't look like, she looked like she's like 30.
Kushinita? Is that her name?
I think so.
I believe.
I've been better with names this
The Jujutsu Master.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, she's 90 plus as well, and she looks like she's like 30 something, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, we're not gonna go any deeper into that.
I just said okay.
Yes. Anyway.
That's what that is. Like, if you insist.
Okay.
She was also waving around that naked girl. Like,
Yeah.
with one hand.
Yeah, she was.
The chick with the
She
kukri
didn't give a damn.
got wrecked. And then she was just like waving around, blocking shit from Shigure. Just like, can't hit me because this bitch is here.
Ruthless. Alright. Sek, Jin, and whatever
What's up?
order.
Favorite fight?
Well, since I already know what mine is, my favorite fight will be the tag team match. Okay, it's going to be Ma Kensei and Ma Rinka versus Caster, quote unquote, or Rachel, and the Laughing Fist, Diego.
Yo, tell me how we picked the same fight.
I had a feeling that was going to be your favorite fight.
I'm sure. I'm sure you did know. So, number one, off rip, like, even if the fight wasn't great, which it was, I love Rinka. So any amount of time I can get Rinka on the screen is A1. Okay, so that's already automatic. Then on top of that, I love Kensei. So another one, just another reason I love this fight. And then Rachel and Diego have so much personality. Like, I'm not saying you have to like their personality, but they have a lot of personality. Some of the masters in the story are stoic or really just just mean looking, and that's like the extent of their personality. Is I'm a master, and then that's the end of their personality. But Diego has so much personality, so much going on. That you can't help but get amped when he's fighting. Not even you want to fight him or anything, but just in a way it's they mention how literally that Diego quality is definitely summing it up, because knowing that Kensei was fighting him and he knew he was going to lose, and yet he still made sure to put his loss on camera because he's an entertainer first and a martial artist second, is just so it gives this character so much personality. It gives them so much to just work with, because even Kensei is like, dude, you're awesome. I'm not even gonna lie. You kept an eye out for where the cameras are, knowing I was about to finish you off, just so that you can show up on camera because you're an entertainer. You know what? Hats off to you, Chief. And he wasn't a pushover. Kensei had a difficult time fighting this cat, so it's just their fight alone was
difficult to the point that while reading it, I was worried that was where Ma Kensei was going to die.
And I don't fault you for that, because he definitely was pushing Kensei to use his best techniques. That fight between him and the Laughing Fist was much more of a frightening battle than him versus Soyes, his own brother. So, the creator really put respect on the name of Luchadors in this story. He put some respect on their name, because he made sure that fight was serious business. Now, granted, Castor did accidentally help out a couple times by, showing off the goods, because, that distracted Kensei. But overall, that fight was pretty serious.
Don't skip over what Ma Kensei said. My own daughter? I'll beat your ass. What are you doing with my daughter?
It's no, that's not even it.
I got tired of seeing those years ago.
I've been seeing those specifically like that. That's what the wild part is that he specifies, what? That's my daughter. I got tired of seeing those once she was born. And I was that's a weird way of saying that, but okay. I'm going to just let that slide, because you just said no. That's all that matters. That's all that really matters, but it was that's an interesting way to translate what you just said. So I'm gonna just overlook it for now. But the concept was there, and it's just funny to really see that. And also, it was great to see Rinka have a full-fledged fight, because I do know that I had seen comments here and there before about how how weak people perceived Rinka as being. And it was really weird to me, because, and this is my opinion, if anybody wants to, kind of wants to disagree, I always viewed Rinka and Miyu as equal in strength. Now, granted, they can know different martial arts. Granted, they went through different actual training and stuff, but realistically, the levels of their capability, I've never seen Rinka as weaker than Miyu. So, knowing that some people kind of put her lower, not just than Miyu, but people like Hermit, was interesting.
Well, see, Hermit would have no reason to know anything about Rinka, especially up to this point. It's not like Suigetsu was a family man. But what I was going to say was, I would agree with you that they're equal. I think that the reason, though, that people think that they're not equal is because Miyu's eldest daughter, and because we see Miyu do a lot more from the giddy up.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think that's why the Rachel fight really helps to kind of prove my point that it's she's not that weak. The fact that even Miyu expected to fight her and take that fight seriously proves that if Rinko was able to beat her. And she didn't struggle that much. I'm not saying she just decimated Rachel, because she didn't, but she had an answer for everything that Rachel brought to the table. Like, there was never a point where I was like, damn, she might lose this fight. Like, she's desperate. Like,
I felt like Rinko was about as strong as Mew when we saw Assassins after her life, like on the day-to-day, and she was just like, nah.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's hard to say she's much weaker than Mew if she's dealing with that on a regular basis.
Yeah. Like, people literally chasing her around like, hey, I'm seeking glory. I'm trying to be famous. So I gotta kick your ass even if you're a little girl, just so you should know.
Yep.
Like, people looking for her to do this.
And I'm only commenting extra because this was also my favorite fight.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I feel
because, it's fun.
I mean, but that's really the extent of my explanation. Like barring everything that happened in that situation, because all of that shit was awesome that we got to see. There was some really good information that we learned in this chapter, but like just the fight alone was like that was awesome. Like
also
in quality for real.
In that arc, Miyu had to recognize that Kenichi was the man.
Yeah, he was the GOAT.
Because I forgot her name, but the Drunken Fist chick showed back up. And she was like, oh, I guess I have a chance if you're not dating. Huh?
I think her name was Spark.
Yeah, that's right.
Newport Hundreds. Yeah. Alright, so can I do my favorite part fight now?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, so this is a tiebreaker. It's literally between the fight with Akisame and Alexander, Boris's master.
That's fair.
Or the fight with I just said it. Oh, Apachai and I mean, he's not
the Chinese master.
Apachai and the dude with the bird cage on his head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and so here's the reasons, like, why this is a tiebreaker. So, in terms of theme, intensity, and like just, oh my god, this was just really, really awesome. That's why I would say Akisame's fight. But like, just in terms of seeing somebody do something, like, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I forgot that, Apachai was that fucking dude. I'm not gonna lie.
That's like his first fight. He hasn't like done anything yet.
Yeah, that was the first time he's ever like thrown a punch at someone that wasn't Kenichi.
I mean, you're right, but the thing was, it was like, they made a pretty good point out of, like, Apachai don't know how to hold back. He pretty much kills, if he hits you, you're probably going to die. So, like, I guess it was the fact that I got to see Apachai do something, and then also just, like, seeing him do something felt very fulfilling. But, and then this fucking Apachai, he ended the fight with Yabba Dabba Dude. Like, how do you not?
I don't trust that translation.
I don't care for that translation.
It's not the only time it happens, and it's not the only time I don't accept it.
I was about to say, it happened twice. Like,
yeah, I was like,
that boy definitely said Yabba Dabba Dude twice.
But I don't know. Like, those are my two favorites. I guess for like deepness sake, I will say the Akisame and that Alexander fight, because seeing Akisame like literally be put in a mirror situation to his disciple Kenichi, like, yeah, this guy's throwing his life at me, and I'm a saving fist, martial artist, and being basically made to have to use a technique that would have, quote unquote, killed him. Like, he forcing them to accept defeat. I think I'm gonna go with that one. Yeah.
So, funny story about that. I was talking to Justice as I was reading while I was still behind. By the way, I didn't catch up. I didn't like meet today's quota until like this morning. Like, I was down to the wire.
And I would like to say, guys, that I have been on it. I have messed up since the first podcast. I've always been ready and prepared. Y'all won't catch me slipping again. That's right. I said it.
Respect.
So,
Me, honestly, having always been caught up.
I was. I mean, I made it. But I was literally talking out loud. I was like, man, it would be really cool if Akisame's fight with Alexander mirrored Kenichi's with Boris, and then it just did. And I was like, man, I don't know if that's me remembering this fight, recognizing tropes, or just I don't know. I didn't remember, but it was literally me thinking out loud. And I was like, man, what if they finish it with the same move? And I was just like, son of a bitch, we made it.
So actually, that's a great point to bring up though, because I think you bringing up this fight is one of the most, just obvious, like flashing in your face, the different type of philosophies between the killing fist and the saving fist. Because at the end of the day, the defeat of Alexander came down to Alexander accepting defeat. And what I mean by that is that Alexander believes in killing his opponent at the end of the day. And Akizumi doesn't. And he didn't kill him, but he did knock him out. And he stated he knocked me out for 2 seconds. I have to admit it. Because realistically, if they were fighting on the same terms, those 2 seconds would have killed him. And the fact of the matter is, if you didn't get it the first time, he reiterates it with Boris. Boris said he knocked me out for 10 minutes. That means you could have killed me over 10 times while I was knocked out. And there would have been nothing I could have did. So I lost, because I'm technically dead right now. Like, on a technical level, even though I'm alive, if my life was in your hand for 10 whole minutes, if you wanted to kill me, there would have been nothing for me to do to stop you.
yeah.
So it does show that drastic difference in their philosophies, but how they also respect each other's philosophies to the extent that it's like, if I go by my own rules, I'm dead right now. You get me.
Yeah.
I have to admit it.
I do like the fact that Yomi, and I'm not sure if this is something that goes with Ryu Zapata or if it's a martial artist thing as well. And I only mean specifically in this manga because I'm pretty sure it's a martial artist thing in general. Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole doing what the let me say the loser must obey the winner type deal. I really love the fact that even the Yomi members respect that.
I feel like
my bad.
I feel like it's the only way that like fights can make sense in this universe. So like it is cool that it is respected, but otherwise everything would just be chaos all the time, and the world that has been built up thus far wouldn't really function.
You would have a Batman situation where his villains are just always there, always fucking with him.
Yeah.
He's always dicking on him.
But I mean,
there's nothing to do. Like, they keep living.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Oh boy. Oh, I want to bring something up if we're done with the fight, like favorite master other people in Kenichi fights.
Yeah, I think everybody's listed theirs.
Okay. There is a fight in particular that I have a gripe with. Now, Takeda, puncher. That dude is cool. He's slick. He's got talent. He's a good guy at heart. But this man made a mistake for me, and Kenichi showed him what was what. But this man said, yeah, you know what, so you fucking around too much with me, you need to go ahead and say something. And I tell you what, since we gon' spar, if I win, I'm asking her out. And when I say, like, I felt for Kenichi, I was like, you filthy son of a... Yo, Kenichi, no more holding back, beat his ass. Beat his ass, Kenichi. Like, you know them ghetto, like, when you... just bear with me for a moment. Picture a ghetto, like your stereotypical ghetto person, flamboyant person waving their finger, talking about some beat. That was me. That was me when I was reading that part. I was like, yo, Kenichi, yes, beat his ass, yes. Yeah, that was me. That was me.
This boy was over here like Smokey for Friday, beat his ass. beat his ass.
Because Takeda being disrespectful, talk about I'm going to confess my love to Miyu. And I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. And what room? What? Kenichi loving Miyu? That makes sense. He's been through a lot of shit. Takeda, you've been through some things, but you don't know Miyu like that. Boy, if you don't step off.
I felt that same energy. I felt a similar energy. Like, I felt like that Takeda, like, supposedly liking Miyu thing has been only kind of glossed over. All he's done is, like, admire her appearance. We never actually see them talk that much or do, like, literally anything. So it felt weird.
It also could have been, like, he's trying to get Kenichi to actually face him as a fighter. Because, like, Kenichi obviously wasn't all the way in that fight because he's his friend. And he was like, hey, man, fucking fight me. Or I'm going to take your girl.
So it's funny to me because, personally, I actually did not have the visceral reaction that you guys had. And the only reason I guess I felt that way is because, although I do understand you guys are you guys talk to her that much and all this stuff, I do also recognize we are reading this from a different language and a different culture. And the reason I say that is because there are so many different examples that I'll see of characters who barely talk to each other, who's like, you know, A, I've always been in love with you, or B, you know, hey, I'm really interested in you, let's go out. And it's a love confession, but they, like, the translation could mean something different, and just the easiest way to explain it is love. Because I know that, you know, these are high school kids. These aren't grown people. You know, these aren't, you know, 20, 25-year-old people plus people, you know. These are, you know, 15 to 19-year-olds. And so knowing that, it does make the quote-unquote confession that, oh man, I've liked her for a long time, could be the equivalent of what he's saying, moreover than I am totally in love with her and there's no other woman on the planet for me. You know what I'm saying? Because we kind of in America take that a lot more literally. When you say you're in love with somebody, it's a much bigger statement here than I feel like it might be there. It might be love and like might be interchangeable in the translation, and they just stick with love, so it's easier to understand. That's the way I kind of looked at it, because he always has seemingly, you know, had something going for her. I mean, the fact that he's making her honey and no one else. I mean, that's fair. Don't get me wrong. But
I agree with you on the translation thing, because I know for a fact that love in certain contexts you can translate love from Japanese in like more than 4 ways, and it depends on how it's used and its context. So like I get you there. I just feel like even then it's kind of like it's rocky at the.
It also could be like it could be more like I'm not in love with you. It's like hey, I'm interested in you. They just use the word love.
Well, I mean, they used it in the context, I feel like, maybe not, you know, love, but the context they meant for it to be taken in, because if you recall, right, shortly afterwards, Kenichi's like picturing in his head, Takeda basically asking her out, and he's like, you know, oh, do you want to go steady? And she's like, sure, what's going steady? So, I mean, like, at the very least, it was clear enough the implications that were being made.
I feel like steady as a high schooler isn't as big a deal as love is.
And also, that's Kenichi's point of view. Of course, Kenichi's going to jump to that. He wants to get his dick wet.
I mean, also on top of that, like I said, it could be a crush. I mean, crush is superficial, but crush is a thing. I mean, everybody in this call, everybody, and no one's going to tell me they had a crush on a girl or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I say or whatever to be inclusive, but when you had a crush on somebody in some way or form or fashion, that may have been superficial, but how would you figure out if you're compatible if you'd ever tried it? You know?
That's a little, because again, we're talking about like in this instance, like if you got a crush on somebody, like I can understand having a superficial crush on somebody, but like again, Takeda didn't really talk to me. Like you're literally. I'm sorry, come again?
From what we've seen. We don't see every day as well.
I mean, that's true, but like, Kenichi literally lives with Miyu, and like, I mean, to get off the first friendship, but like, he literally lives with her. They interact all the time.
So let me compare it to something else then. So all the girls, besides Miyu specifically, who are interested in Kenichi, they should not be interested. And I don't even mean Spark specifically, because Spark is one of them. But I mean, like, Rinka doesn't live with him, and freaking the Flower Ranger girl, the girl who, like, works in the gardening club with him, she doesn't live with him, but she's still, like, you know, that's how I kind of look at it. I kind of look
to them. Like, she gets to know who he is. All of these characters, and it doesn't help that he's the main character, but, like, literally, like, they get to know who Kenichi is. They like Kenichi for who he is. For Takeda, I don't feel like he knows who Miyu is, and that's part of the reason why it bothered me so much.
In all fairness, Kenichi doesn't really know who Miyu is either, and he's still very much learning.
I also think it's supposed to bother you. Because you're supposed to be on Kenichi's side.
I mean,
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. You're rooting for Kenichi, so.
But, like, man, I was just thinking about Kenichi as a series is towing the line on being a trashy harem.
You're right. It is.
Like, he's got the harem. He's got all the girls. They just aren't a harem.
And it really only comes down to the fact that Kenichi is a simp. Like, and I don't use that term very lightly. I hate the term, really, but the fact of the matter is, Rinka says what she said, and there's a reason behind it. The only reason that he's infatuated with her is because he's seen her first. If he had seen any of these martial arts ladies besides her, maybe you could say I'm saying hyperbole by saying any of them, but if he had met a lot of them first, there's no reason to say that he wouldn't have been infatuated with them. Like Rinka or Spark or any other.
I feel like it would have had to have been Rinka, if anyone else.
Huh?
I think it would have had to have been Rinka, if anyone else, because Rinka was, like, stopping assassins. And the reason he found Miyu again was because she was stopping some criminals from bullying someone in the street. And
we've seen Rachel do the same thing. Like, we've seen Rachel literally protect Kenichi just because, and other students, because she didn't like what was going on. Yes, she's a killing fist, but like we discussed before, there's more to the killing fist than black and white. I just murder everything in sight, and I have no self-control, and I'm not a human besides a murder machine. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, there's nothing to suggest that if he had met Rachel or someone else first, he couldn't have fell into the killing fist thinking that's the right way. Like, now, granted, I'm not saying he has no agency, but let's be realistic here. He is kind of a passive protagonist. Like, he does make decisions, but he reacts to them more than anything. Everything that he's ever done in the story pretty much has been reactionary. I'm going to learn martial arts by going to read Sanpaku because someone told me to. I'm going to fall in love with Miyu because she's the first fucking girl I meet in the story. Like, pretty much everything he's done, or at least the majority of what he's done, has been pretty reactionary and just go with the flow type character. He's not an active protagonist. So that's why I'm saying, like, pretty much any female he would have met first, any woman he would have met first, would have been, like, would have had that same ability to be like, damn, she's badass, and she protects people, and she's powerful. I want to be like that. So that admiration turns from admiration to love, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's well.
I don't disagree, but I feel like that's part of what makes. I don't know. I feel like that's what makes this love story like work is that he's known me for so long. But like, I guess I can concede that if it was just about anybody else, it could have been them. Though I still feel like because Miyu was using her strength to protect people, to protect others, it makes her a step above Rinka, who uses her powers. She does use her powers to help others too, but like most of what you see is her protecting herself from assassins. And I just don't know if that would hit the same way for him. But I do agree with you in a sense.
Yeah, I was going to say the main encounter here, that I guess you could say...
I just can't believe... You hit it home, though.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I was just sitting here, like, Justice really hit it home with that. Kenichi is like 2 steps away from being a trashy harem series, and I can't disagree. That's all. I wasn't trying to interrupt. I'm sorry.
You're good. I was just gonna say the focal interaction that basically kind of cultivates the majority of Kenichi and Miyu's relationship isn't their first meeting, but it's the first instance where we kind of see Kenichi's sense of quote unquote justice. Like you say that he's a passive character, which I would agree with, but like Kenichi, while he is passive, he does have his things that he stands for. So like I don't feel like he would have gone down the path of like the killing fist with his character being what it was. There's also the fact that I mean, like again, with that whole encounter with Miyu, like Justice said, she was saving, people who were basically like minding their own business effectively from gangsters. So while I feel like Rinka might have done something like that, that's what I was gonna say. That I feel like if Rinka was in that situation, she would have done the same. And that's why I feel like if he had met Rinka instead, it could have easily been Rinka. But I do feel like the whole seeing someone strong use their strength to protect the weak is what got Kenichi.
That's fair.
Man, it really is a harem in disguise, and I didn't even see it. I don't even think it's.
I've seen it for a long time.
I don't even think it's a disguise. I think I'm just oblivious.
Liked him.
Like, I guess I really should have noticed when Rinka first showed up. I really should have, because she just showed up and like was like, "Oh, here he is," and there had already been Miyu and the gardening club chick. So after Rinka showed up, the dots should have connected, and I don't know why it took me so long to cross that finish line.
It's okay. It took me this long to really connect.
Because I had forgot that Spark even said she had a thing for Kenichi when I was reading this the first time. Well, from my memory of reading it the first time. But I mean, dude's built. I can't blame him. He's built and he's kind. I don't know what else women want. If you're a woman in the chat, tell us what you want, because I certainly don't.
Funny. He is also funny in the instance of like his cowardice is amusing. It very clearly amuses most of the women that he's around, because it's like he's a coward, and then like the girl is about to like get involved because she's like, well, I mean, I don't give a fuck, I'll fight you. And then Kenichi's like, nah, bruh, I might be a coward, but you ain't fixing to fight no girl. Come on, put these hands up. Like, you were the same person just a minute ago who was cowering and shivering in the corner, but you ready to throw hands. Okay, alright. And he throws hands.
Also, you know what I think keeps it from being that? There are male characters who his age who still matter.
I mean, that's a great part of the story.
Yeah, I was just saying that, like, in a typical trashy harem, there's only one dude that matters.
Yeah.
Or maybe, like, a dude who's considered a part of the harem, but isn't actually part of the harem, but is actually part of the harem. But no, there are other male characters that matter, and I think that keeps it from... I think that keeps it off that line.
I mean, we gotta talk about Ukida and his two girls, his love triangle.
Dude, that is crazy, because I totally thought Freya was into fucking Thor.
Yeah.
I feel like she's just more open-minded than anything in particular. But also, I will say this, okay? So, Miyu not having any idea about love or affection in that romantic way is now been negated, because she was very quickly and very easily able to pick up on what Freya was doing, and even did the love triangle symbol. So there was no debating whether she understood it or not. So any type of like, oh, she's just ignorant about love and all this other stuff has been thrown out the window. So at this point, she's like her pretending not to understand that Kenichi has any feelings. I'm not even saying she has to know that he is completely in love with her and she's the only girl for him. But the idea that at this point she still can't recognize he likes her and she has some type of feelings for him, that's why she gets pissed when any other girl is around, like she gets super possessive around him. That's out the window for me. I'm sorry. Like, I understand they're young. I do understand that. But when I was 15, 16 years old, I was not in a position where I was like, what? This girl or guy or whatever likes me. I have no idea. And I like them and I'm possessive over them, but I have no affection. Nah, come on, bro. I don't even treat my dog
she isn't
like
calling
that.
the family
Everybody
dog
my
in this
dog, I don't
reading.
get possessive.
She did not call him the family dog in this reading.
That's why I mentioned it. Like, I don't even treat it.
I think she's very.
That's
I think she is much more aware of that aspect of their relationship now more than ever. And I think that's part of Miyu growing in general. I think she's grown a lot throughout our reading. Like, especially when they were dealing with Chikage. Is that her name? Chikage?
Yeah. It's either
Chikage.
Chikage or Chikage.
I think it's Chikage. But like when she decided to stop wearing her glasses and let her hair down and just be comfortable in herself, I was like, "You go, Miyu. You do your
Yas Queen.
Yas. It is that Yas Queen energy."
Yeah.
I ain't gonna lie, I feel really bad because I thought she looked better with her hair up and her glasses on. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a bastard saying.
I'm not gonna lie, you're same. I agree.
Wait,
I agree with you, but I respect her choice.
Like, I just feel bad because I know I'm wrong for that in the concept of what she was trying to do, and there's no reason for me to be judging her. So I appreciate the idea of what she was going for, but I ironically like it better with her hair up and glasses on. That's just me, and it could just be exposure where it's just been I've seen it for so long. That's just my expectation, so I can at least fairly say that, but. Honest to God, truth, just I feel like the glasses and ponytail braid thing combo just worked better. That's just me.
Man, I hate fake glasses. Like as a thing, I hate that they exist.
Yep.
Like I'm very adamant about that, and I understand that it's like a fashion statement to wear glasses. But as somebody who doesn't have the choice about it, it really grates me the wrong way. I try my best not to take it out on people.
I understand that, but I don't feel the same way.
That's fair. Like again, I try not to like display that bias at people anymore because it really started with my like zillennial little brother-in-law wearing fake glasses. I was like, why are you doing this? Because they were also comically large, so they kind of made him look like a clown. But anyway,
you're gonna have to beat up. You're gonna have to beat up Joker for Persona because his ain't prescription either.
Man, listen.
Man, nobody wants to shake hands with Joker.
I mean, but I'm just saying.
I'm pretty sure he needs reading glasses. We never see him not wear them at school.
I mean, that's true, but they're considered fashionable glasses or something. Like, if you go into the menu screen, it even says fashionable glasses or some shit.
Yeah, you can have...
Like, I'm pretty sure they're just...
My glasses are technically in fashion. It's just large square frames.
No, I'm pretty sure Morgana even says that they're, like, not real glasses.
Oh, no!
Yeah, I was pretty sure they make it clear that they're not real. Like, I was pretty sure they make that clear, but I wasn't 100%. And I mean, same thing with Gene from Samurai Champloo. His ain't real either.
I haven't watched Samurai Champloo in long enough to remember. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I only remember because they specify in an episode they're like, "Wow, these glasses are worth a lot of money. I'll hold on to them." And then like Mugen looks through them, he's like, well, "These are fake." Yes, dude, they've been fake the whole time. Those are not real. They are false lenses. He does not wear real glasses.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like I get it. I don't. I guess I get it. I don't like it.
No, I mean that's fair. But I mean, it is what it is. But back on the Kenichi, I will say this. Because I'm biased, and I'm going to readily admit that. When it comes to the whole harem situation, I think one big thing that keeps it from being a harem too is that you never question whether he's going to end up with Miyu. Like, I'm not saying we know for sure he's going to end up with Miyu. We haven't gotten to that part of the story yet. It hasn't ended. But at the end of the day, there's never been a point so far that we've questioned his loyalty. Yeah, he's been a perv here, or he's like peeked at other girls there because it's like, oh damn, she's kind of hot. But like, there's never been a point where it's like, do I really love Miyu? Like, there's never been that question. There's never been that question of how do I feel about Miyu, or how do I feel about Rinko, or how do I feel about XYZ. There's always been a very clear, definitive. Miyu's the only girl he's ever been had any interest in whatsoever, and he has had no interest in anyone else, regardless of if they put their life on the line, man.
I feel like I understand that. I disagree because we never question who the harem protagonist usually ends up with. It's usually the first girl that shows up.
Yeah.
But I get you.
I mean, maybe. I guess that's just.
I've watched a lot of trashy harems. I have watched a lot of trashy harems. It's almost always like a good 90% of the time. It's the first girl that's in the harem.
Okay.
Oh man, we had a discussion about Kenichi being a harem today. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, like, so let's get to our ratings. I feel like today can be a slightly shorter episode. We did all right. I feel like we.
Was there anything anyone wants to like bring up about it before we get to the rankings? I guess.
I'm trying to think because there was
other than Chikage being moe as fuck.
Yeah.
She's so adorable.
I love Chikage. I really do. Like, I really hope they don't end up having to fight Chikage. But, let me think. I'm trying to think, because there was something that happened that I was pretty excited about talking about. That just it's escaping me right now.
Well, if you don't mind, like, while you're thinking about that real quick, the one thing I have to say about this manga is that I'm, like, super on the fence about one thing, and that's the lady representation, because in one hand, it has great lady representation. All the lady disciples are just as strong, if not in some cases, stronger than the male disciples. So that's really awesome. But also, there's only like 2 lady masters of importance to the story almost at all. So it's kind of crazy to think about because like you have Shigure, and then like in the shadow, the 9 shadow 1/5 thing, the 10 different masters, only one of those is a woman. Only one. And it's really weird because he doesn't write them bad. All of them have their own very distinct personalities. Rachel is not like Rinka. Rinka is not like Freya. Freya is not like, Kisara. And they even, some of them have merging interests and personality types like Miyu and Kisara like Cat, but they're vastly different types of characters and shaped vastly differently with vastly different, just what they're interested in doing with their lives, wishes and stuff. Kisara wants to be able to fight anybody equally without a weapon, and Miyu wants to be a bride. They're way different characters, So it's just, I'm on the fence about that, just because in one half you have all these disciple ladies that are like really strong, but then you have like 2 masters.
I mean, it's this could be just a semantical argument, but I guess I feel like it's better than the no representation of like not having any female masters. Like, I can get what you're saying, but like I can also say that I would feel weird if it was like all lady masters or like mostly lady masters.
I also have to like. The author is a male. It is a lot easier to write characters of your own gender in a spectrum. And he's done a good job with the females that he has represented. So I feel weird trying to gripe about it, I guess.
I do get where you're coming from.
It's not so much a gripe that I'm saying it's like, I want to like super like put on blast how well he writes lady characters, but I'm always like afraid that it's going to come down to, well, we only got 2 lady masters, and I can't argue. Like, there's no real way for me to like debate that because it's true. Like, there's no 2 ways about it. Even Kisara's master is a male. Like, so as much as I want to be like, yeah, but they have a lot of good girl characters, I can also hear somebody in the back of my head saying, there's only 2 lady masters. Like, is it only possible for 2 ladies at a time to be a master? And it's not even like I agree with it, but so much that I can understand where someone would make that argument, and I don't have a rebuttal. Like,
I mean, I
feel
guess my
like in
rebuttal would
situations
be
like that,
like stereotypically in martial arts they were practiced by men. Like that's not saying that women couldn't or wouldn't practice because obviously we see plenty of women in the story, but like that is what you saw. And also this series was getting written in like the early 2000s. I feel like the author did the best with what he had.
I can agree with that
I
because in
feel like if
comparison
he
to
had
something
written
like Bleach or Naruto, the ladies definitely do a hell of a lot more. Like I love Naruto. No one in here is going to question my love of Naruto, but there's only like 3 girl characters that I can give any level of like, hey, they did significant shit. That would be Nata, Tsunade, and Sakura. Other girls have done things, and other girls have been important to the story, but in comparison to what the male characters have done, even supporting male characters like Shikamaru and Chochi, most of the ladies just do not have the same time to shine. Versus in this story, the ladies have just as much, if not more, time to shine a lot of the time. So I can, if we're comparing it to like its time up to 2000 with other shows being out like One Piece, Naruto, Dragon Ball, XYZ, yeah, he does do better than his contemporaries.
but he also objectifies them a lot more than his contemporaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like there are panels of exposition that are done in a hot spring just because we haven't seen Miyu or Shigure naked in a while.
Yep.
So like,
It's
like
one of those
better
things.
is not good. It's better, is
Yeah.
what I'm meaning at, I guess.
I mean, it's one.
Well, even go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of those things to me. Like I don't know. And this, I hope I don't piss any female listeners off by saying this. I'd rather have a handful of good female characters that I'm like, man, this character like Shigure, or even like Chikage's master. Like I don't know much about her, but like I feel like she's sorry, very well written for what I've seen of her so far. Like
She's drinking from the
she's
same
very
fountain as the brand up master. That age.
yeah. So I mean, it's like to me, Chikage's master is like a female elder. So I mean, I would, and then it's like I guess also the fact that we do have so many disciple class female characters and even female characters that Kenichi's goal is literally to be stronger than Miyu so that he can protect her. That's his immediate goal. Is that like he wants to be able to overcome Miyu, and I mean that's if I don't think anybody's going to try to tell me that that's something that's normal. Is a male protagonist trying to the goal of the male protagonist is to overcome or be stronger than this girl. 9 times out of 10, and this is also remember I'm an anime watcher, not a manga reader typically until these guys happen. But in most anime that I see where you have a strong female, she is strong as a like butt point. Like she's strong, and then you see the main character, and it's like, yeah, she's strong, she's doing all this stuff, and then the main character shows up, and he's like, yeah, you're cool, but get the fuck out the way. I'm here to be the real awesome person. Whereas with Kenichi, that's like it has started to grow to that. Like, but that's not like where things started. Kenichi didn't just start off being like, yeah, I'm fucking badass. Like Kenichi was definitely far from that. And then I mean, even like with Takeda was under Kisara. Same with Ukiyo. I mean, I'm just saying, it's like I feel like at least their representation isn't so. I feel like it's better than most, and I like the representation minus the fan service. Like I'm not gonna say I don't like fan service, but I don't care. Like it's not what I live for. When I'm talking about like characters and things like that. So
It did get me through some of the slog parts, I'm not gonna lie. There were some denser parts of reading that I was getting through, and I was like, oh, all of a sudden, here we are. I guess we haven't seen any boob in a while, so.
But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the females in this manga are definitely like a lot of times put in positions of like power, even as disciples. Like I don't feel like they try to make it out, if you will, that females are definitely weaker than males. Because I mean, like we see females kick so much dude ass, it's not even funny.
And also, a lot of the Yomi members were women. Like, I didn't even think about that. I can't think of the ratio off the top of my head. I want to say it's 40% of the top 10.
Because it's Rachel, Spark, Chikage.
Well, Spark's not like a member of Yomi.
I could have swore she was.
Yeah, I thought
she's not one of the
she's not a main member.
She might be a Yomi member. She's not one of the 10 like actual members.
Oh, you're right. I thought she was.
No, she's not talking about
no, she's just associated with them.
Okay, so I mean, of the top 10, it's Rachel and Chikage, from what I remember off the top of my head.
But I think part of this also stems from the whole, like, martial arts is for war, and men are usually the ones who are sent in wars, like, historically speaking.
Yeah.
Like, en masse. I'm not saying women never fought in wars. Don't cancel me in the future, Twitter.
I already hear the keyboard warriors code.
No.
You already know.
No, it's just...
All China knows you're here.
But yeah, I feel like I understand where you're coming from. I don't necessarily feel that it's bad.
I don't want to say it's detrimental to the story. I do want to be clear. I am not docking points and saying the story is now null and void or isn't good or isn't as good as it could be. I'm simply saying that, seeing the ratio does kind of make me feel like, man, I could introduce a couple more lady masters. I mean, we've seen unnamed male masters, so it's not even getting named the ladies. Just one or two more, please, like type thing.
I hate to be the
like that. Go ahead.
It's just, I feel like there's always going to be someone who has that argument. Period. Point blank. Like, if let's say, for example, that this were literally to be split, where it's like, all right, among Ryu's and Paku, there are it's half and half females, half males. Among Yami, it's half and half. Among Yomi, it's half and half. Among Shinpaku Alliance, it's half and half. Even if that were to be the case, somebody would have a complaint. Because either some female characters shouldn't be displayed or portrayed this way. Some guys are going to be like, well, what the fuck? Why are there, like, what's going on with the male characters? Like, I know people, I've talked to people who don't necessarily, like, care for Kenichi because the females are so much stronger. They're like, that's not realistic. And I'm like, you're an idiot. But it's okay.
You've never been in a fight before, obviously.
Exactly. Like, so, it's like some people are always going to have something to complain about, and I genuinely feel like even if the author had written it and made, was diligent about, like, all right, 50-50, there will be equal representation throughout the entirety of the manga, which, I mean, I don't know, I'm not a writer, but I know that if I were a writer and I had to, like, try to focus on something like that, my story's probably not going to be that good. Personally, because that's what I'm going to be focusing on.
I can agree with that.
Making sure 50-50 stays there if it's something that's important to you. But, I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that female representation is not important. Please do not take that away from this. I am merely saying that if it, in terms, I'm going to take quality over quantity. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and I'm not calling for quote. I hope you guys understand. This is, I get where you guys are coming from, and this is not me even disagreeing with you. We're not really even having a debate right now. It's more like I can see the argument there, and I don't have a defense. So I'd rather be candid about that. I'd rather be open and be like, you know what, if someone was to complain about this part of the story, not only do I recognize it, but I understand more than anything. That makes sense.
I feel like my only input that would be different from what has been said so far is if the only thing you're looking for is that, like, if not having enough female masters makes you hate the series, then you're probably not reading it right.
Thank you. That's a good way to put it.
Is all I would say to that.
I think that's the best way to put it.
You can have your opinion, and it can be wrong.
I like that. I do. Spicy, but
I will say that, I'm glad you guys were at least able to discuss it with me. It is not something, again, that I have like this super, I'm like a proponent of like having quotas and we need to have exactly 50-50 and all that. That wasn't really what I was trying to bring to the table, but it was nice that we can bring that up because I do think it's fair to bring up these types of things to be candid about the things you like. You know what I'm saying? I love this story, but I think it's only fair to be candid about some of the stuff that even if we enjoy, we can understand where someone else is.
Like the fan service.
That's why I want the fan service.
Because it is ramped up a lot in this group of chapters.
There are nipples in
I was
those
gonna
chapters.
say, and this is coming from a guy who has just gonna be perfectly candid, like our man Jin here. I have a pretty dirty mind, okay, all the time. But like fan service, all this fan service is for me personally. I'm not for it. It's not. It's one of those things. It's like I see it, I keep it moving. You know what I mean? It's like, and talking to you guys and other people about it, going and thinking back on it, it's like, oh yeah, that was kind of funny, haha, hee hee, and I can appreciate a beautiful body. Do not get me wrong. But when I'm thinking about, Kenichi, and I'm like, oh, I want to tell somebody about this, I don't give a damn about the fan service. Like, the fan service is the last thing on my mind. And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, it gets on my nerves because I'm like, why? I don't need this right now. Can we get to the next important part? I have questions and need answers.
See, I feel like a lot of exposition happened over training before, and now a lot of exposition is happening over fan service. I don't necessarily have an issue with it. It's fine, I guess, but I could see other people having issues with it happening. It's like, why do we have to do this while these girls are naked?
Yeah. Like if I have any issue with the female representation, that would probably be it. Is that and I think somebody said it before. I can't remember if it was Jin or Cynic, but the women are objectified a lot, and I mean that's fan service. But that if I had a complaint about the female representation, that would probably be mine. Is that it's like, all right, y'all can chill on this a little bit. I can chill on this a little bit.
A lot of it, actually, most of the time. I mean,
really?
So the time it makes the most sense for me when it has something to do with the character. For like when Rachel did it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense because she's all about grabbing attention. Yeah. And what's the easiest way for a girl to get attention in high school or in a fight? Maybe. Like just with the outfits that she wears. Yeah, it makes sense. But there are times where it's just like, like why couldn't we have had this scene clothed? I guess it's also less ink.
Maybe it also doesn't bother me with like Shigure. That's because she's like very okay with it. It seems like she is very confident in herself, so her nudity doesn't affect her like it does all of the younger characters.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean for me to start a whole rant on this. Like, we could get to the ratings now. Y'all just asked. I thought it would be interesting.
You're right, and it needed to be discussed eventually. I wanted to bring it up last episode because we were talking about Kisara, and she's like one of my favorite characters in the story.
I mean, she's a really good character. She's a really good character. Kisara's so sweet. So sweet there.
I love any time that there's some fan service and Nuki does there. She immediately blocks his eyes. It's like, no, you can't look at them. You'll eventually have to look at me, maybe.
Maybe, mind you.
Oh, that panel of her kicking him in the face during the D&D was so perfect.
Dude,
She was standing, or she was sitting, and she just put her leg up. First of all, flex, like literally. And oh, that moment was great.
I'm just gonna say this: if Kisara want Ukita, she gonna have to fight Freya for it.
Maybe I honestly don't remember how that all works out. I definitely thought Freya had a thing for Thor, but I guess I was mistaken. And we spent a lot more time talking about romance and sex in this battle shonen than I expected to today. I'm okay with it. I'm just surprised.
Yeah, I can admit I was more hyped about the fights, but yeah, I mean, like, it is there. It is an aspect of the manga. Not my favorite aspect, but it is an aspect.
I guess one last thing to bring up before we get to the ratings, because we didn't talk about him, was that like office dude, who's also like almost a master.
You're right.
Thank you. That was what I was trying to remember that I could not remember. Go
It was
ahead.
also at the very end. I almost feel like we should have ended in a few chapters, like the chapter before he showed up or something, because it felt like it was the beginning of something new when he showed up.
So I do want to bring something up about him. So I did tease him last cast. I do remember specifically saying, hey, some characters in the DFD that just seem like a random no-name character that just disappear and quit for no reason, they might come back later and have some significance. And then our next arc, when we get him, he was the one who, like, was supposedly like 19, like he was right on the precipice of being 20, and he was like, he had his cell phone and everything, like he literally was wearing the same suit, he beat all his opponents with one hit, but then he quit halfway through and left.
Yeah, because his wife was like, you better get your ass home.
Hey, look, if you're gonna simp for anybody, simp for your wife.
He even says that, mind you. He even says one day you'll be with him too.
I'm gonna say this to all of our male viewers: if you're gonna simp for anybody, simp for your wife. For real. If you're gonna simp for anybody, simp for your wife.
But yeah, I can't wait to see more of him, especially because one, he was the first quote unquote expert we've seen. And the reason I think that's important is because of the fact that it did. So last cast, you guys were mentioning how in the DFD or whatever it's called, with the them mentioning how, what's his name?
Siegfried, I'm guessing.
Yes, was close to being a master. I didn't want to say anything at the time because I did remember the expert class. So that seems like a little bit about hyperbole on the master's part because I don't think he's stronger or even as strong as the guy we just seen. And so he hasn't even reached expert yet. So yeah, I think that like him being on the road to it is true, but him being close to it is not. So if you take it out of context, you can feel like, oh, he's the closest to being a master. I don't know if that's true. That doesn't sound.
I don't want to disagree with you. My thing is that we never see Siegfried fight with his full power, like since his training. Which I don't know if the author did on purpose, because I don't remember if he has any big fights in the next part. But it's definitely like almost like an Oda thing where nobody's fought at full potential yet. Either somebody's has a handicap, or somebody's tired, or somebody's hungry, or something. And I want to see Sig at his maximum, doing his best.
That's fair. I can understand that argument, and I can even agree with that argument. So I do want to say I'm not shitting on Siegfried. He is an awesome character. He is a powerful character. I am not in any way saying he's not on his way to becoming a master and like he's on the path, the right path. But I just wanted to be clear. Huh?
I said that's good because I do know where you live. Siegfried is the man.
But I'm just saying, like, it almost felt like people could interpret it as A, he might be stronger than Kenichi, and B, he's right below the level of master. And I'm like, with the whole expert level, I don't even think he's there yet. Like, he might be on the precipice. he might be like right there about to reach expert, but I just can't see him being not only expert, but at the edge of expert going in master. That seems like a lot to me personally. You know,
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, and while we're on that tip, this was my thing that I was going to, because Justice had kindly reminded me about that guy. Basically, where we are at now, Kenichi has entered. He's leaving disciplehood and entering that expert class. That was kind of signified, like they go into that when Kenichi and Office Dude spar. So,
I think Akizame does mention he isn't there yet, though. I'm pretty sure Akizame definitely mentions how, like, you're getting there, but you're still not expert.
They specifically said,
sure, like,
in the translation that I read, they specifically said he's the top of disciple class.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I'm not telling you that like he isn't close to being expert yet, but I just, from the way it seems, he hasn't left disciple quite yet.
Okay, that's fair.
So that's also another reason why with the whole Siegfried thing, I was like, I don't know if he could be considered top class expert yet. I don't think he's there.
Yeah, that was another thing that randomly became important, though. Like, classes of fighter.
Yeah.
Because, like, all of a sudden there's disciples and masters, but now there's a bunch of things in between. Like, master's assistant or expert or, just a bunch of... It seemed like these rankings kind of came out of nowhere.
But they were kind of necessity to kind of... Cause like, okay,
you're not wrong. I'm not saying they weren't needed. I'm saying they felt really out of nowhere.
I mean, especially the expert, because the expert definitely wasn't foreshadowed. I can at least admit the disciples having different levels, the masters having different levels, there were like kind of foreshadowing for them having their own different levels of being a master or being a disciple, but the expert class kind of slid in out of nowhere.
But then there's also like super masters who are like where no, that's like where all of the Ryuzanpaku sits. And then there's like basic masters who are just masters. Like, it just feels really wordy. I don't know how to say what I want to say.
I feel like maybe what you're trying to say is like, I guess I could see why you feel like it's wordy, but I do actually feel like it's an important distinction, because like just switching it over to something more relatable to like music real quick. One one saxophone professor isn't necessarily going to be as good in performance as another saxophone professor. So still tiers to things, you know what I'm saying? Like they both are professors.
They're not titled differently. They're not they're not like saxophone professor class 1 and then the other guy is like saxophone master. Like they're both professors. That's my thing. There just feels like there's too many of them. I can accept like disciples, experts, and masters.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like extra to that just feels unnecessary, because it's just kind of like, well, at what point do they become assistant instructor class? At what point do you like? What is the defining line between disciples and experts?
So I do want to bring something up, because I get what you're saying, but I do think there is a significant distinction. Although that little assistant instructor thing, I think that was like kind of a self-proclaimed title more than it's a literal title. Like he kind of gave up on ever becoming a master, but he's higher than a disciple and probably about the same amount, if not stronger than an expert possibly. So
then why
he might
wouldn't
have
he
been
just be a master?
Well, see, here's the thing. The way I look at it is like this. What Elder has always said, and other masters have brought this up, you don't become a master. You fall into becoming a master. And they said expert is one of the longest stretches of road, because when you're an expert, you know your shit already. You are an expert at your field. But the master level is a totally different vein of existence, quote unquote. And even when you hit being a master, there's so many different levels of being a master. you cannot compare the first karate master that Kenichi fought to the elder. There's no comparison between those two guys. You know what I'm saying?
To be honest,
exactly.
Even be amusing.
Exactly. Like if he beat Kenichi with 0.002% of the power, whatever, 0.0002% of the power, he probably beat that guy with like 2% of the power.
Probably the same 0.002% if we're being real.
I mean, probably, but I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, like all Kenichi did to that power level was land a hit.
Yeah.
I'm just saying in general, though. I'm just saying in general, as a concept, having. I mean, and then again, we see how fucking busted the Masters, even if you take the Grand Elder off the table, even if you take the Elder off the table, pretty much everyone else in Real Zanpaku is busted. But then you have another Master that isn't the Elder having being able to fight two of them at once. You know what I'm saying? And doing a good job. This isn't like, oh no, what am I going to do? Like, no, she definitely was chilling in that fight. She was definitely comfortable.
Yeah, but she's like female elder. That's why I was saying she's like female elder.
And I get that, but I'm saying I feel like you have to make those differentiations because they're not going to be the only two characters that strong.
I guess my only real issue with the classes so far has been, one, they're statting their abilities based on those things, which is kind of weird, but I kind of get it. Like, oh, your durability is master class, or etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the only real thing that
they mentioned that you fall into master, so that's why it might be that, like, you've fallen into a level of masterhood that encompasses multiple parts of your ability.
I guess I can accept super masters as being Ryo Zanpaku level. Like, I can kind of get it. I don't care for it, but I get it because they're far above and beyond the ideas of normal human logic. Yeah. I think that's the author telling us that there are people of that level. But
literally, Kenichi's dad is considered a master class at guns. I know that sounds weird, but the fact of the matter is he was able to do. And I mean, the reason I say it's weird is because you would say, well, he got knocked out on one hit by his wife, and he doesn't really ever actually beat anybody in a fight. But the fact of the matter is he was able to do things that even Shigure said wasn't possible. Even Shigure said, you cannot reload that gun one-handed. And that motherfucker said, bet. And did. And he was able to, for a significant amount of time, escape the Masters. Now, they weren't trying to kill him, but they were definitely trying to stop him. And he was able to destroy traps that Shigure had single-handedly. Like, again, he's not their level master. But with a gun, he's nothing to play with. And they have shown other gun masters. So this isn't like some, headcanon to say that there's only he's the gun master. There are people who are above him in guns, but the fact that Shigure can literally say in panel, that's not possible, and he says bet and does it. You still got to differentiate their dad or Kenichi's dad from other high level people if he can do the impossible himself, and he's practically a normal person.
What I was trying to get at was my biggest gripe with the ranking system was like the assistant master class. Like, the fuck was that?
That, again, I feel like it's self-proclaimed. I think that's self-proclaimed title over anything. He's probably expert level.
Well, that's a thing, though, because, there are people in dojos who are specifically assistant to the masters of the dojo, but aren't, actually masters. So it was a thing that I feel like matters, but that usually means they're good teachers and well-practiced. I don't know. It just... That was my biggest gripe with the whole, sudden ranking system. Bar the fact that it exists.
Okay. That's fair. I can get down with that. I kind of had to defend it because I've seen so many different examples of what could be considered a masterclass character that if you just keep throwing them out there, then it starts to become well, what stops this character from being a master? Or what stops this character from being just as strong as Shigure? Well, yeah, they're considered a master, but they're nowhere near Shigure because she's a super master. Okay, well, at least we have a Super Saiyan. Okay, that's the difference. We have a Super Saiyan, and this is a normal thing. That's what I needed to hear. Like, you know,
Nijima's ability to escape situations was masterclass.
Nijima's ability to manipulate people is masterclass.
Everything else. But let's
the
get to the
fact that
ratings. I
Kenichi
don't. At
said,
this point, I feel
hold
like
on,
we're not talking about much of anything.
the fact that Kenichi said, I tried to use fucking Nijima's escape technique just shows just how good, Nijima is out of getting out of shit. Like, that's wild to me. Like, even someone who knows how to fight really well was like, oh, shit, I'm gonna have to bust out the old Nijima technique to get the fuck out of here. We gotta do the rating, guys. We gotta stop. Like, this is wild.
Yeah. All right, Jen. Well, Cynic, you decide the order.
Well, all right, Jen. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go probably 8.5 on this one. Like, I'm like close to giving it a 9, but I'm gonna stick with 8.5. Like, I know you guys don't like fan service. I kind of do. It's nice.
Hey,
it is what it is.
I never said I didn't like it. All right, those were never words that came out of my mouth.
Okay, that's fair.
I said I can appreciate it, but it's not what I'm here for.
That's fair. So there's that. I also definitely liked almost every fight in this arc. Like, there's been at least something interesting or cool to take away every fight we've had in this area. Like, I can't name one fight where I was like, this is a bad fight. This sucks. I don't care for this. Like, not one of them. Even when Kenichi lost, real good. And again, just that final moment. That final moment where he faces the master and says, fuck it, I might die, but it's about to be what it is, and you're gonna have to put me down, bitch. That, Kenichi's my boy for that. That was the hype moment. That was that, get him! Like, you know, I don't know. Definitely minimum 8.5 for me.
All right, Sick.
All right. So, for me, I actually think I can comfortably give this. I'm going to give this portion rating. I give this a solid 9. Because I feel like everything we've been reading to this point has done a good job of kind of barring the whole class system. We'll just take that part out of it. But I feel like the story thus far has done a good job of preparing us for this arc. And I mean, this arc was just a lot of really good ideals, good battles, good representation, and a lot of really, really good characters. Like, I can't think of any character, be it from Yomi or new characters introduced this, portion that we've read, that I just genuinely didn't like. I think I blared through this particular reading because it was just so captivating. So I'm gonna give this one a 9. Plus, again, yabba dabba do, man.
I hated it. Justice, you want to go next?
Yeah, so to preface this rating, I actually have to go back and change my rating from the last reading down to an 8.
Oh.
Because I would also give this reading a 9. Like, I think Kenichi is steadily getting better as a series, and like just in every way, like all of the fights, all of the characters he goes against, all of the like clashes of like right and wrong and what Kenichi does, he's so much stronger than he was, and I'm just so here for it.
I absolutely would agree with that. Wait, yes, again. Sorry, I had to.
All right. Did I give it an 8 last time?
I think you gave it an 8.
I think you did.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to change my previous rating to a 9 and make this an 8.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not that I disliked this at all. Because I feel like, I mean, 8 is still good. Still really good. There are things... I feel like the last segment of the story had more of a flow. And, like, there was more cause and effect. And a lot of the things that happened in this part of the story seem really disassociated. No, that's not the right word. It just feels
disjointed.
it feels like a bunch of
combined.
disjointed mishappenings. That and like I like fan service. There was a lot of it, and a lot of it wasn't tasteful. That kind of knocked it a little. That kind of knocked it down a little more for me. Also, the reason I give the last one a higher rating is because I love tournament arcs.
Hey, at least you're honest.
Like, so outside of that, it's not anything necessarily was bad. It was just between the gripes that I've had more gripes through this reading than I did with the last one. Is I guess what I'm.
That's funny because I had like exactly the opposite thought process. That's super funny to me. And I'm also used to being an outlier here. I say it almost every time. Like I'm going to be the outlier here and say it's better than everyone else or it's worse than everyone else. But this is the one time where I'm in love with the consensus and you're out back. That's funny.
I did because I did realize that we didn't take our time to highlight Lord and Savior Gary UX. Sir Justice, would you care to give us a little bit of what Gary UX did for us this time?
Not a lot. He showed up and helped Kenichi train right before his fight with Ethan. But man, him being there, just like you turn the page and you're just like, oh, okay.
So Kenichi could be warmed up to fight Ethan.
I guess this for me is the implication because he had been fighting him all night apparently. Like literally, the ride over to fighting Ethan was the rest. Like from the way I interpreted it was that literally from the moment that quote unquote Gary X appears in the springtime of his youth to the point that he's in the motorcycle along with Sasuke, that like he'd been fighting up until the point he hit that motorcycle, and he had only had any time to catch his breath for that period of time. Literally, him driving there was his catch your motherfucking break because it's about to go down with Ethan. So that's funny to me too.
I just want to say because I did forget that was the preface to the fight with Ethan. You just gotta think about that real quick, you know? Like, Kenichi spent an entire night fighting, you know, you could call
Gary UX.
Yeah, it's like
at 0.0002% of his power, probably. Maybe less, since Mew wasn't there.
I think it might have been 0.001. I think it actually was.
I don't remember if they actually said it or not.
I feel like I vaguely remember a panel that had 0.0001%, but you know that's neither here nor there. I just want to put it into perspective, though. Kenichi was fighting a demon, monster, angel, however you want to look at Gary UX.
A Sentai warrior.
Yes, a spiritual warrior of extraordinary caliber. All night. To go and fight, basically like, this is no shots at Ethan, but basically a regular person for all intents and purposes in comparison to Gary's. To Sir Gary. My bad. I don't want him to come out of nowhere and smack me with his foot. It is very interesting when to come out of that kind of environment directly into fighting with someone who would be disciple class. I just thought that was very, very interesting. Because I mean, like, Kenichi came into that fight ready to go, which was the whole point. But yeah, I mean, like, I I couldn't. That's like playing Tekken against like the world's greatest freaking. Like the world champ, you know, the world champ of the Tekken tournaments, and you go from fighting that person like all day, and you end your night with playing against like
going to locals somewhere.
Yeah, like
it's like fighting Daigo in Street Fighter and fighting me.
Yeah. Like Kenichi was like, whew. Yeah, all right. You ain't nowhere near what Gary was. So I'm
fighting for my life. Def R. Kelly out here. He was definitely R. Kelly.
Oh yeah, Kenichi got big R. Kelly vibes. He fighting for his life quite literally.
Since you mentioned that, though, I do want to bring up, because I brought up last cast, I believe, that it does take Kenichi a second to build up, and that was not only shown here, but verbally stated, because that was the whole thing. Chicago was like, look, it's not even necessarily that Ethan is the superior fighter over him by leaps and bounds. It's just that Ethan goes in and Kenichi doesn't. He comes in there, tepid. And that means Ethan's going to try to end it in one blow, while Kenichi's going to work his way up. But Kenichi was not working his way up this time. Kenichi went in there ready to die. So it is interesting to see just how much better he did in that fight when he was already down. He was already warmed up.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Elder, though, he also ran from Japan into international waters on the water.
I forgot about that freaking part.
And like also bent like a big cannon barrel with his hands.
And then throws basically a fucking mini nuke out of the fucking boat. Like, not literally a nuke, but it was fucking a big, you don't want to fuck with this bomb. And he just said, within seconds.
He did eat it and was literally like, they were like, wait a second, you could have blown this whole fucker up if it had touched the glass. He's like, oops, my bad.
He's like, I'd have survived, sucks to be y'all. That's practically what he said. Y'all can't front on me, dude. That's practically what he acts like. Damn, that would have sucked for everybody in here but me. That man's wild, bro. That man's wild.
If the masters at Ryu's Onpaku are super master class, I don't know what the fuck Elder is.
The Invincible Superman.
Super Saiyan, that's what he is.
The Invincible Superman. Now, one last thing, and then we can start tuning, wrapping things up. I did also remember this. I wanted to say that I do feel like Kenichi is following the path of the Elder, basically. Like, him, you mentioned it before, but him running after a car, a very speeding vehicle, being able to catch it on foot, and have that battle with the master, like, I feel like Kenichi is basically going to be the next Invincible Superman. Because it seems like that just seems like the direction that they're trying to take with Kenichi. And I could be wrong, but that's what I think.
Assuming that Hayato
I agree with you. He wasn't even gassed when he got up on the truck. Remember that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Cynic, what'd you say, man?
Assuming that Hayato, ends up leaving that world ever.
Hey, look, if Kenichi ever hopes to have a future with Miyu, he's gonna have to fight Garyu X, okay? Alright?
But he didn't have to kill him.
No, he's gonna have to fight the Elder. He's gonna have to fight and beat the Elder.
Yeah, that's true. That is what he said. He said, if you want to marry Miyu, you have to defeat me.
And he said at least, mind you. Mind you, he said at least. Which is like, what the fuck you mean at least?
Who's fucking stronger than you?
That's why I said it, because he said at least. Like, what you mean at least?
There was that one weapons guy that he fought who he did say was on his level. The guy who ran away, he was like, that dude. Watch out for that dude.
Did he say he was on his level, or did
he said he was going all out. The elder was like, I was not taking that lightly. And he still got away.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Elder commended him on being able to, in that situation, get away. I want to say I don't think Elder had quote unquote trouble though.
No, I wouldn't say he was not injured, but that was somebody that like he said was powerful, and
he recognized them.
Yeah, and that I just feel like that's an important moment for not Ryo Zanpaku people.
Yeah, hey, if Elder said it, you can bet it.
All right, y'all. So I've been doing some research.
Something before we wrap up. Another story that I think people should check out. If you ever enjoyed History from Disciple in any capacity, I do think one of the next manga you should check out is Kimi wa 008. That's KIMIWA008 or UR008 is the English title for it. It is made by the same mangaka. However, instead of it being about martial arts specifically, they are actually seemingly trying to become agents, like secret agents and stuff like that. If you ever watch the Kingsman, it's similar to the first couple moments of that. It's not the whole movie similar beat for beat, but they're in a school to become secret agents. The main character is even similar. I don't want to say the same, but he is similar to Kenichi as in he is a normal person with dark hair and kind of lanky in comparison. He hasn't been bullied or anything, and he's relatively intelligent. But if you like this story in any capacity, I feel like this is the next obvious step to read.
That's fair. I did some research, and I think a good place to read through for the next segment would be through 279. I mean, through 479, like stopping at 480. I do not read 480. It is the start of something new.
Okay.
So that would be like exactly 100 chapters, which is also good. Because I think that leaves almost exactly 100 chapters to the last part, too.
Like 103 or 4.
Well, anything else, guys? Yeah, really quiet.
I can't.
No, I don't think there's anything else for me.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, I'll take this time for a note for 2 notable mentions. If that's cool. So.
No.
Well then, I'll wait till.
No, go ahead.
All right. So first thing that I'd like to, I guess, notable mention, is going to be related to reading. I mentioned it either last podcast or the podcast before. I'm reading something called Angel. Now, it is not a martial arts battle shonen type thing. It is more of a I'd argue magic, otherworldly romance type deal. It's basically got the rough synopsis. It's basically our real world, but imagine if with alien invaders, basically that were the equivalent of angels and effectively demons. So each district of our world would have
property.
Huh?
Nothing.
So each district of our world would have a guardian angel, and and these sorts of things. Different guardians would be stronger or weaker, yada yada yada. But this one is taking place with in a district. I don't remember the name of the district, but the district is taking place in has an exceptional guardian who uses firepower, and obviously he's an angel. I haven't gotten super far into my reading yet, but so far it's actually pretty good. I feel like the writers do a pretty good job of.
We're losing you very much, sir.
You're losing me?
Yeah.
Still?
Not anymore, no.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know why that suddenly happens. But I'm just saying, I feel like it's a very good read. If you are into any type of romance, or even if you just like magic and the whole concept of angels and demons, I would recommend giving this a check out. You can find it on Web Novel. Again, that's Angel. The second notable mention, I have finished one of my projects, my musical projects that I've been telling you guys for the past.
Ooh, so you're also fading out again.
Oh my god. But through the past 3 podcasts I've been mentioning, hey guys, check out music, it's coming soon. I finished one of my commissions for the Ivy League. We have a theme that I have wrote. So basically be on the lookout for that. Anybody who is a part of the Ivy League or anyone who is interested in joining the Ivy League. But that's it.
Yeah, also Ivy League's having like Mo Lowry.
I didn't know if you wanted to advertise that here.
I mean,
I
that's
guess
fine. No, it's fine. I mean, I'm going to be streaming it here, I think. And also, they're going to be advertising me during the podcast, so I'm done. People should know.
Yeah. So, your boy Cynic, and of course me as well, Sec. We do have another podcast later for the Ivy League. We will be having a guest, Molari. He's a Facebook comedian, does a lot of things on anime. He's a good guy. He's a funny guy. So I'd recommend tuning into that. It'll be tonight at 7:30.
I thought that was on March 14th.
I was misled because I totally thought we were doing that tonight.
He definitely said he was doing a test. He definitely said he was doing a test tonight. But okay, I could also have the date wrong. Last I checked our chat, it was March 14th.
Hey, so it's either tonight or next week, but either way, at some point, we're going to have Molari on the Ivy League podcast. We will get more on that and actually have you'll just look out for it.
So anybody else going to do their test? Because I was going to do.
You go first.
Jam on Twitter. One word. Follow me for my art.
Yes.
It's Sekai. That's SECKATAI. You can follow me on pretty much any social media. Any content related stuff you'll find me under that name. Just check me out for music, and that's it.
I'm Justice Man on anything. If you feel the need to follow, please don't. I don't do anything on social media.
Follow him.
And then my band is Shibutica. We play a lot of funky, sort of like soul, like neo soul kind of grooves and like booty shaking music. So if you're into that, we're on all the streaming services.
And also, they're trying to get like 100 followers on Twitter. I just saw a tweet about that a few days ago, I think. And I'm Cynic. You can follow me on social media at CynicalSM on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Don't look for me on Facebook. I don't exist there. But this has been the manga panel. Oh, I guess YouTube. Duh. This is where this is going to get uploaded at some point. But this has been the manga panel. And we're out. Peace.
Peace.